You're listening to the Muckrakers on today's News Talk, TNT.
Well, welcome back to the Muckrakers. Me, Andrew Eborn, Martin Jay, and Dr. George Szamuely, and we're looking at election interference around the world. And 2024 is the election year, the mother of election years. I think about 50 countries have gone to the polls. We've had our election here July the 4th, which is American Independence Day, and they're going to be having their election on Fireworks Day, November the 5th. Fireworks on both sides of the Atlantic as part of the special relationship. But the basic warnings that AI has had more of an impact on election this year than any other time in history. And there have been all sorts of warnings about that. I was looking at some examples. So in Spain, just before the national election, 2 days, there was a fake website which was mimicking an official Madrid site, posted a false warning about a possible attack by a disbanded Basque militant separatist group, ETA. In Poland, 2 days before the October parliamentary election, police responded to a false bomb threat at a polling station, and social media accounts linked to the Russian interference infosphere falsely claimed a device had exploded. And there was also a fake report surfaced claiming that Prime Minister Donald Tusk was mobilizing 200,000 men starting on July the 1st. The Polish news agency quickly removed the report and clarified that they weren't the source. And interestingly, in Slovakia, just a couple of days before parliamentary election, you remember the two candidates, it was virtually neck and neck, but all of a sudden there was emerged this AI-generated audio recording which falsely portrayed a candidate discussing plans to rig the election. There was also another fake recording surfaced where the same candidate was heard talking about raising the cost of beer, of all things. They went viral and led to one candidate, the pro-NATO, being defeated by an opponent who favoured closer ties to Moscow and Russian President Vladimir Putin. What's your take on this, George?
Well, it's a very good question, and we don't really yet know what impact AI will have, because at the same time, all of these cases that you cite, the fakery was exposed very quickly. It's not like it lasted a long time, and those are the more nefarious influences on an election where the fakery goes on and is never challenged. So, for instance, the other day there was an AI-generated a short ad purportedly from Kamala Harris, in which she's speaking. It sounds exactly like her, and she's saying, well, I'm the presidential candidate. I'm of course a complete idiot. I'm a moron, and so on.
That wasn't AI. That was real.
It's a moment of truth. We loved it.
But of course, I don't think anyone was really taken in by that. But if one thinks of, however, Russiagate, which we were talking about the other day, that was fake news, and continued to have a massive effect on that election. Now, we in the United States, we get again the fake news, which, however, because the mainstream media repeated, do get believed. I mean, there's some fakery involving J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, he had a habit of making love to his couch. Totally made up. It was a completely made up story in AP. And then the other day, we had the governor of Illinois taking part in an interview with ABC News. And he was saying, J.D. Vance, he's really weird. He was making love to a couch. And the ABC News anchor just let it go, and instead of saying to him, that's a fake story, that was that's been refuted and is nonsense. But she allowed the governor of Illinois to come up with this nonsense. So AI may have a huge impact, but we're already having real problems with fakery that is advanced by the mainstream media. And of course, the mainstream media, they have their preferred candidates. And we know, we're really getting into the election season in the United States. They are absolutely determined, adamant in getting Kamala Harris over the finish line. So we can expect an awful lot of fakery and nonsense told about Kamala between now and November the 3rd, and again a lot of fakery about Trump and JD Vance. We're already getting this here about this word that's been coined that they're weird. They're weird. He's weird. JD Vance is weird. Trump is weird. He's weird. He's a creep. And it's all. It kind of pervades the sort of the election space. And suddenly we're talking about nonsense like, well, this guy's weird or this guy's a creep, rather than anything serious. So the media, being what they are, have an enormous impact on election, and in a way, this is election interference. I mean, it's quite obvious election interference in that they're putting their thumb on the scale. They want their guy to win, and they're ready to put any kind of nonsense out there to get to ensure that their guy wins.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, 2017, the words of the year were fake news, and last year, 2023, was AI. You have that delicious fusion, and we have a big battle on our hands. I mean, diseased information age. We're drowning, aren't we, in a sea of disinformation and misinformation. And I always urge everybody to question everything. I present this series, you may know, Andrew Eborn's Fake or Fact, where we're looking at all these fake stories every single day. What's your take on it, Martin?
Well, I'm quite worried about JD Vance's sofa. I mean, I'm wondering how much that reflects on Craigslist. One sofa slightly soiled, probably owned by JD Vance. It could sell for thousands. I'm not so worried about fake videos of politicians for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think people are quite skeptical when they see something like that. Secondly, the politicians have got the money. They've got the slush fund to go to their technical people and say, destroy this. What's worrying me is that huge chasm, that huge space on the internet of just regular people who are being affected by fake news, and this new generation now of wannabe journalists who are manipulating the software and writing these stories. And we don't have, so far on the internet, we don't have a regulatory authority, we don't have software, we don't have any sort of measure which is searching out these stories. And my biggest worry actually is how huge organizations that already have a really tawdry track record on manipulating the media, like the European Union, will actually exploit AI. And yeah, it's bringing tears to your eyes. I can see it already.
No, I just worry that I have to put your dog on the payroll. That's the thing.
No, I'm going to have to apologise about the dog because he's a...
Don't apologise. What's your dog called?
He's a randy 7-month-old German Shepherd, and I've got a 5-year-old husky bitch who's on heat. So he's actually been taking care of her problems on a 30-minute sort of cycle, and I'm having to do something about it. So apologies for that. That wasn't AI. That's the reality of what I'm living with here. But my final message on AI is we have to watch people like the European Union. I think Ursula von der Leyen probably salivates when she thinks about the possibilities of AI.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. National Cybersecurity Centre, which is part of GCHQ over here, its latest annual review, it basically pointed out that the rise of artificial intelligence is basically the massive, significant areas of risk to the electoral process. And we've had all sorts of fake recordings, and people are fooled by them. You can do all sorts of election statements. Some are genuine hot mic moments. Others have politicians saying all sorts of things, and you can make anybody say anything with anyone at any time. Are you scared about that, George?
I'm not sure as yet, because I think, as Martin pointed out, people have become quite skeptical, and these things, they tend to get refuted very quickly. I mean, that's the amazing thing, that when something is obviously fake news, it pops up on Twitter, and right away people are already spotting it. And I know that in recent times there have been any number of instances when some seemingly incendiary comment was attributed to a political leader, and within an hour it was already known that no, he didn't say that was just simply a piece of fakery. And even though it went out on Twitter and it looked absolutely spot on, well, this is pretty important. So I think people are skeptical of these things. I think the more serious thing again with the EU is the censorship regime that they intend to introduce, and in fact are already introducing under this sort of the Digital Services Act. This is now the law within the EU, and therefore they have the mandate to take down all kinds of postings that the EU deems fake. Now, of course, what they call fake isn't actually fake. It just simply is stuff that they don't like to hear. So anything that they say, oh, this is Russian propaganda, in other words, it's news that they don't like, they now have the absolute authority to do that. There's no First Amendment in the European Union. And I think this is going to be a very important thing going forward in Europe, particularly when there's the populist nationalists who are still around. They're going to be a force in coming years. And you've got the leadership of the EU that is absolutely determined to stop the populist nationalists. You watch how they use the Digital Services Act, how they pressure the social media to take down all kinds of messages that they don't like. And, that is going to be the absolute, worst kind of election interference.
Martin?
Yeah, he's hit the jackpot, hasn't he? Yes, election interference, exactly. That is really what we should be worrying about. And when those times come, they only come, in the EU's case, it's only once every 5 years, but you have 26 member states also, which the EU has its preferred candidates in. And I think we can expect a lot of skullduggery. When I was in Brussels, I was sued something like 6 times by MEPs, British MEPs, because they had the money and I had a very low circulation investigative magazine, which basically threw the spotlight on them a lot. And it's a very unfair organization. It's a very draconian, backward organization that doesn't really believe in anything to do with democracy at all. And I think we will, when AI really gets going, I think we will see a really dark side to the European Union and to a number of governments that we haven't seen before. The big question, which I can't answer, unfortunately, is I don't know what that does to media. Does it sort, the wheat from the chaff and generate a new generation of fringe media websites which have a good reputation of, sticking to the facts and have maybe jumped through a few hoops and have some sort of a reference from an organization?
I'll tell you what it does. I'll tell you what it does to you, Martin. It drives more people to tune into the Muckrakers, where we only have our unwavering quest to the truth. We've run out of time. It's been a fascinating discussion. George and Martin, thank you so much indeed. You'll be back with us on Friday, and I will be back with the rest of you tomorrow here on TNT.